Hey, I think we're on time and everything.
Welcome to the Gordox Pub. I'm your host with the most bacteria floating around in my system.
But I do like my voice tonight. It's delightful. At least in my ears.
Me too.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna be sick, and miserable,
You start off with, in a time when.
in a time where, yeah. Yeah, my wife was a little mad because she came upstairs yesterday and I'm sleeping. And I'm pretty much on my back, and I had kind of wedged my head between the pillows, apparently. But I was slightly leaning towards her side, and she's like, "You're sick, and you're drooling on my pillow."
That's love.
Damn it, Rich.
I said, don't make me laugh.
I won't tell you about my yesterday.
Go ahead. How was your Valentine's Day?
Well, I thought it was kind of laid back until today.
Oh, yeah?
Well, yeah, because I asked her, "What do you want? Do you want to go out to eat? Do you want this? Do you want that?" Nothing. And then today, she hated me because I didn't do anything, and I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I don't want to have to work for it." Like, well, you mean expressing what you want? Like that. Apparently, that's working for it.
Hey, you're supposed to develop your telepathic skills.
Yeah, no shit.
I thought it was funny, all these middle school kids. What'd you get her? Well, what'd you get her? And, they're asking all these boys what they got their girlfriends. And I'm like, well, what'd you guys get your boyfriends? And it's like, what do you mean? Okay. And then part of me is also like, you guys are just completely just hypnotized by the marketing of this. I was like, you should be I try to do stuff for my wife all the time, and I try to, get her stuff, and I don't know. I've never quite understood the point. Like, if you do your relationship right, you really shouldn't need Valentine's Day. And
Right, because it would be every day.
Well, I don't know if it's every day. Let's be realistic. There are days where you're just working, but you're working for the family. You're working for the relationship. I mean, so I guess a day to celebrate all the work that you do shouldn't mean that you should have more work to do. I don't know. I find that weird.
Well, I think it's more of you treat her special day because we tend to. Let's see. Here's the way I would put it in a more concise manner.
Okay.
Somebody asked me. Actually, it was a guy that was a military preacher.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the name for it, but he was really young. And he was talking about getting married. And asked my advice, and that's I don't think you should probably start off by asking a tattoo artist what his marriage advice is. But what I gave them is that marriage and love isn't what you feel when you first get together and you're you're buying her roses and you're buying her rings and you're taking her out and you're doing all these things. What real love is what's left after all that newness kind of wears off. Like what real love is what remains after the shine is now scratched and bumped, and like that's what the real love is. And I think, getting back to the point, that Valentine's Day for a lot of women is that they get that back for a day. They get that shiny new. You treat them like you're courting them day again. You know.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think that's what I think that's what the idea is. But and when I said, like if you're doing it right, you're doing it all the time, it's because it's the same thing. Like if you're considerate and love them and want to see them happy, then you don't just do it on Valentine's Day or their birthday or your anniversary, right? You do it
Right.
all the time, or try to do it all the time. I mean, granted, there's always going to be times where you don't get along. That's the nature of two people living together that are not the same person, right?
Right.
And you can be alike in a lot of ways, but there are differences, and it's the opposites that makes us attract, right?
Well, for me, I always figure at a certain point, the relationship is new, and that's what you're exploring. But after a while, it should develop into everything that's like for a while the new is the relationship. But when that passes, if you're going to stay together, it has. I think I don't want to experience much that's new without my wife. Um, I don't want to go places without my wife. I don't want to I want her there. And so the new that I explore now, I want to explore with my wife. And our biggest arguments tend to be when, uh, I suppose, when we forget that we're on the same team. But
Well, yeah, like you're talking about exploring and doing it with your wife.
yeah,
The only issue is that we're still separate people, so you're going to have interests that she doesn't, and she's going to have interests that you don't. So there's
yeah,
going to
but
be things that you're going to explore not together. Is
well,
she
that's just like
exploring the comic book with you, or you know what I mean?
no,
So
but I
it's
don't want to. I don't want to sit there and I don't want to be a writer without my wife with me. Like you know what I mean? Like I get that I'm doing this on my own or with you or whatever. But in the grand scheme of things, it's like it's writers of the future. It's yeah, I want to win it. I want to go to California and all that stuff, but I don't want to do that without her.
well, yeah. I mean, that's different,
Well, I'm just
but
saying all the
you're
things that
you she's not with you when you're exploring writing.
I get that, but and again, it's a matter of
I
my.
guess I'm just expanding on what you're saying now. I'm
No,
not contradicting what you're saying.
I'm not saying I got to be with her 24/7. I just when I
No, I didn't
reach,
think you were.
the people I want to celebrate with, they're
Right.
great. They live in this house, and a few of my friends. But most importantly, the people I want to celebrate with, the people I want to, and if I have to go through hard times, the people I want to go through hard times with, are the same people, and that's, I think, what a good relationship probably is. But you're welcome for the love advice. This is our love episode. I have the sexy voice and the sexy snot dribbling from my nose. You have the artsy fart. You're drawing that mastiff like one of your French girls.
I hope the fuck not. I don't want to see any French girls that look like that. I mean, I guess there are some, but
Yeah, those East German immigrants from the 80s. You say it stopped
it's snowing. No, it started snowing.
I don't. It got super foggy here, but it still says it's over 35 degrees, which I suppose it could snow still. But they said we're supposed to get snow tonight. But man, it was just mucky and gross. Like everything was melting. And I remember, like, I got up around 5:30 this morning. I had to go. I needed a breathing treatment again, so I let the dog out. And I remember looking out, and the cars were covered with a dusting of snow. But by the time I woke up later on, completely clear, everything was just muck. And my wife said it was super foggy out. And she's like, I don't know how it's supposed to snow with all this fog. I was like, good. They're not mutually exclusive.
Right.
But,
It can snow and the ground below still be warmer.
yeah.
That's usually what fog occurs, is when either the sky or the ground is warmer.
Oh. Well, anyway, so that the magic system that I sent you, and it's a very loose magic system. Uh, and but I think it bridges fantasy and science fiction well enough, which is kind of what we wanted anyway. And after talk, like I've had that for actually a while. Like I've kind of, like I told you, I have kind of like a little bit of a story Bible, just so that I can. It's kind of like when I tell my students that you should know what your thesis is before you write your paper, so that you actually kind of have a guiding light. Well, when I started doing world building first, like a lot, like I started doing ever since that Enigma Station story. Um, so the story got the story Bible or whatever helps keep me on my guide rails, and it also helps. And like for me, it makes it easier to come up with plots and motives and things like that if I already have a pretty immersive world. And I don't necessarily know if that's plotting, like the outliner versus, or the pantser versus plotter thing.
Architect, like gardener versus architects, but
Yeah, but it's really more just I don't know. It's a mix of the two, sort of.
well, that's what Brandon Sanderson says all the time. Is that generally people fall somewhere in the middle on the scale.
Well, that's I like
Like
having.
if you have plotting here where it's like every detail plotted out,
Yeah.
and you have pantsing here where there's just nothing until you start typing. Most writers fall somewhere in between.
Well, I have found that by having a whole bunch of world building first, which is a dangerous way of doing it, because it's real easy to just want to world build, forever. Like, yeah, I kind of think it's good to kind of have an inkling of a story that's kind of nudging you along, saying, hey, don't forget about me. Hey, when are we going to start? Trying to light a fire under you.
but it's also kind of good to start build your world to put that guy in and then get it going. It also gives you a place to put notes for like when you start having ideas for different things, or if you
Well,
come
I
up.
keep a. I'm just gonna say I keep a story Bible as well,
Yeah,
but I keep it on a card, uh, those 3x5 cards.
yeah,
There's a pad that's got it's like a flip top pad with those 3x5 cards in them.
yeah.
So it kind of forces me to keep the information limited and not over explain.
Yeah. So I was thinking about something they said in the Mike Mignola uh, documentary, and it's kind of he's. They said something that reminded me of Star Wars as well about how like he'll take anything, any little tiny minor character in one issue of Hellboy, and all of a sudden that's a character with his own title or something. Or he'll flesh them out. It's like, yeah, use that as the villain or whatever.
Yeah, well, he'll go back to throwaway characters.
Right. And that's kind of one of the things that Star Wars does too, that I've always enjoyed. That you get these, you'll get some character in the background that just looks cool to somebody.
Like Boba Fett.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, yeah. If Boba Fett had not been Disneyfied and instead had been John Wickified, can you imagine how awesome that would have been? You're talking about a guy who is designed to take down Jedi, right? And
He's a bounty hunter, and I thought that they didn't explore that very well.
well, okay, but literally like the flamethrower, the lasso or whatever you want to call it, the wire thing, and like all those things are designed to help combat against what the Jedi could do. That the whole Mandalorian armor thing is designed specifically to fight Jedi. And here you have a guy in one, has the suit. And then, it's kind of cool that he's got that Tusken Raider training, but he should have been a badass to begin with. And I just would have found it more interesting if instead of just walking in and there's a fat, what's his name? Bib Fortuna, which was a nice little bit of memberberry, but he just walks in and was like, yeah, you're dead. I run it now. And it's like, you could have made a better story arc than that. I mean, they kind of went for the Godfather angle on it, but at the same time, they did not do the Godfather thing.
They did kind of more like a Robin Hood angle on it.
Yeah, and I would have rather. He's a criminal. He's a bounty hunter. He's a bad dude.
See, that's the thing is like I don't think he's the criminal. The Empire are criminals. He's just a guy doing a job. And bounty hunters, like you can see throughout history, some bounty hunters you would consider a good guy, like maybe Dog the Bounty Hunter. But in reality, a lot of them just do the dirty job and get it done. It's about, hunting people for bounty.
He's got
supposed to be bringing in criminals.
Yeah, but he's again, he worked for the Hutts and he worked for, so that's a criminal enterprise.
Well, the Hutts are a criminal enterprise. He just did the job. He was hunting
I get
down.
it, but when you have Wookiee pelts as part of your ensemble, I mean, it's pretty badass. And when Darth Vader has to turn to you and go, "No disintegrations," you're okay, it's just a job, but you are doing it very violently. And
You
that's
ever
okay.
watch?
If you want to go that route, I can handle it. I don't mind.
Have you
But
ever watched uh, Wanted Dead or Alive with Gene Simmons and Rutger Hauer?
Gene Simmons, no.
Yeah,
Nope.
Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, I'm like Rutger Hauer. I would have watched, but Gene Simmons.
Well, Rutger Hauer is the star. Gene Simmons is the bad guy. Surprise. He's a Jewish terrorist bad guy. Surprise. But
Was he
Rutger
using
Hauer,
rock and roll?
no, he had the pigtails and the hat and
Okay.
all that stuff. But Rutger Hauer was a bounty hunter, and that's why it was called Wanted Dead or Alive. And it's, to me, that's exactly that's what I think of. Except for, like, you're saying he's working for the Huts, but the Huts were a governing body, whether they're criminal or not. They're a governing body, and it didn't seem to me like he cared as long as he was getting his money. But
Okay.
I picture like Wanted Dead or Alive when I picture what they could have done with Boba Fett minus, well, with added stuff that Boba Fett has.
Oh,
You have
I
to see the
picture
movie to know what I'm talking about, but
I picture more Get Carter with John Wick thrown in. I think that's what it was. That was the one with oh god, he was the guy that originally played Mad Max, Mel Gibson, and he's upset
Get
about
Carter?
yeah.
I thought Get Carter was Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, hold on. They made two movies over the exact same freaking thing, and you're right. That's a Sylvester Stallone one. So what's the one with Mel Gibson? Yeah, but it's basically the same. Like they made two films off of the same thing. They had to change a name, and I don't remember what it is. Lucy Liu was in it as a dominatrix, and uh, well, here I'll just go to IMDb. I don't know. It's just going to be a while. Anyway. He's upset because he just wants, like, they stole. I don't know how. Like, it's some pathetic amount. I mean, it's a lot for me, but it's not for the people he's dealing with. And they stole it from him, and he wants it back. And I mean, there's like one time there's a phone call where he's like, one of the up bad guy criminal bosses was like, "How much did they take from you?" And it's payback. That's what it is. And they call him Porter, but it's the same. I'm telling you, it's the same thing.
No, you know what payback is?
What?
Payback is 12K Dick's story. They just took the speculative fiction element out of it.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so the
No, wait a minute. That might be paycheck, or yeah.
I was gonna say I don't think that's the one, but anyway, it's a great. I mean, he just wants his money. If they would have given him his money, he'd stop doing things. Or Road to Perdition, where it's. You ever seen Road to Perdition or read the comics?
Yeah. Yep.
So I mean, that's
I
kind of
don't know if I thought it was all that great, but
I thought Road to Perdition was fantastic.
it
literally is my favorite Tom Hanks film. My favorite moment. That's one of my favorite film moments. Is right before he kills the guy that played James Bond. Just the way he just cocks his gun, like it's just so smooth and natural, and just it's a beautifully lethal moment that just for me solidified this guy kills. That's what he does, and just seeing just how he's not bothered by this. This is what he wants, and it's just a reflexive stretch before he does it, and I loved it. It was a great scene. Then it had the mirror trick. Thought that was great. Yeah, there's a lot of imagery in Road to Perdition I like. I mean, some of this, like when they shoot Paul Newman, they kill him off. That is a great shot. I mean, just the rain and the darkness and the lights. It's just great. Loved it.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it as much.
That's all right. You don't have to.
A movie of that style that I did enjoy was you were saying James Bond. I think you meant Daniel Craig, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Because that's the guy.
Yeah, let me look for a second because
All right. Well, why don't you look?
who's the dude that played Bane?
Tom Hardy. Yeah.
He played a lot of those kind of vicious characters like that. But he had one that was with Shia LaBeouf.
Yes, Lawless.
Yeah, Lawless. That was an excellent movie like that.
I love that movie. It is great. Yes, I love that movie. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the pacing or.
I just think Boba Fett is not. He's not Michael Corleone.
Well, I think that we can agree that he should have been a badass.
Yeah.
In what way that we may differ a little bit here and there on in what way, but yeah. I didn't read him as a criminal until the Book of Boba Fett, because then he was trying to be the Godfather and a criminal, but he was really more like Robin Hood or Edward Woodward in The Equalizer. But yeah, I didn't still like I just have a different vision when you say bounty hunter. Like even Bosk, he's an alien, but he's a bounty hunter. All those guys that were lined up were bounty hunters.
I know.
And to me, you didn't. None of them were explored. There was no exploration of how the bounty hunters worked in those days, how they got their call, I guess, or how you didn't have a wanted dead or alive poster, so they had to have some way of getting them. And I know it wasn't important to the Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back plot necessarily, but that's why I'm saying that it kind of lacked in exploring that aspect. I would have loved to see more of that part of the underworld if you're going to, be pulling out the underworld part.
Ooh.
I think I'm going to have to make his shoulders bigger.
I've always liked the way that. So in Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader resorts to hiring bounty hunters. And it shows his willingness to go outside of your typical chain of command. And when you think about that, it's what we saw in the prequel trilogy, where, he kind of did things his own. He was a out of the box thinker. I thought that's actually really interesting characterization. You have, and it's such a quick little moment, and it's just kind of neat.
Well, it is cool that, like, I mean, so what it shows is strategy, as opposed to what the Star Wars films preach is that using the Force is using your feelings. So, I mean, it'd be like the equivalent of asking Darth Vader, "Are you mad?" You know. But that's what they do throughout the original Star Wars, and then later on, like search your feelings. It's all about feelings, right?
Yeah.
And Darth Vader, by pulling in uh, bounty hunters, and the way he pulls in bounty hunters, shows strategy. But the problem with that is it's not huge, but it's the problem we've talked about, kind of hedged about in Star Wars for a long time. I gotta actually go down here, right? Is that there's a whole bunch of generals, and there's a whole bunch of captains, and there's a whole bunch of lieutenants, and not a fucking one of them took the initiative to hire a bounty hunter. They didn't have any specialists that are trained in that. They needed to hire bounty hunters, you know. So it's, I don't know, it shows a lack of thought
Well, it's
that goes into that went into it. They did, you know, it's the same thing when we talk about Star Wars as worlds. They show one city on the world, and that's the whole world.
Yeah.
Like if you did that, what city on Earth is going to represent the entire Earth?
Yeah.
It's just no way.
Right.
And I think that's like the same thing. It's just indicative of, and I know, like what I said, is you're shortening the scope of some things to be able to tell the story. And this is where it comes back to your original point about world building, right?
Yeah.
Is that now they've had a whole bunch of movies and shows and specials
Okay.
in which to explore these different aspects of the world,
Yeah.
and they really don't do much for exploring. What I
Well, it's not Star Trek.
Yeah, I don't think that Star Trek did much exploring of the world either. It was just like, you know, some odd people here and there. They kept getting into stupid predicaments. Uh, so, watching Andor on your
Yeah.
recommendation, I have decided as of episode 6
Yeah.
that really what Andor is so far is
Uh-huh.
what Solo should have been.
Oh, that's an interesting take.
Because Solo was actually just a retelling in the Star Wars universe, and not all that well, of the train robbery episode of Firefly. But if you look at Andor and the build up, and talking about, you know, how you get Han Solo was really nothing at the beginning of Solo, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Andor is almost like if you'd given Han Solo an actual background,
Yeah.
and the robbery was something that you had to plan extensively, and he got thrown into the mix, which is definitely a Han Solo thing. The way that you had to adapt, because that was what Han Solo was good at. He wasn't great at planning; he was great at adapting. I am not happy with that. You might not even see it at that angle. Now you have to see some of it.
Oh, yeah. So I sent you a link today on Facebook. Over
On Facebook?
Yeah. On it's this, I want to say Mayan artifact thing that looks like he's in a cockpit with.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that before. Okay.
Well,
Like
I have
the
too.
the
Yeah.
Discovery where it was a photograph supposedly back in time.
Well, this is. Well, anyway, it's. I just, for what we're kind of doing, I thought this was it was a pretty good uh, inspiration piece. Not that I need to see it or anything. I was like, all right, so that's kind of what we're going for with some of the tech is this sci-fi feel, but a low tech environment sort of type thing, or ruins. High tech is ruins. I don't know, but anyway, I was just like, that's a pretty good inspiration for me. It was a good inspiration piece, so I shared it with you.
I don't think that you told me that though. So I don't think I was sure why you were sharing that.
That's why I was like, all right.
I'll I'll have to go back and look at it. Like I said, today has been really kind of crazy, and
Uh,
I've been on my back foot all day.
uh,
I'm gonna Jack Kirby the fuck out of this guy. I'm never gonna draw him the same way twice.
So, a former student of mine, and now she's an adult for several years. Because I met her when she was a sophomore, I think, and I was in Vegas. So that's years and years before my boys were born. So, uh, anyway, it's one of the ones I've kept in contact with, and lately she's been posting kind of left-leaning stuff, and I was like, all right, whatever, it's cool. Um, but she posted a historical argument for why the Gulf of Mexico should be the Gulf of Mexico and not the Gulf of America, because it's been that way for a really long time, ever since the first European maps. And I was like, well, that's not true at all. Because America was named by map makers, and sorry, but that predates Mexico. And if we want to go by historical precedent, and it's on the American continent, I'm sorry, Gulf of America makes more sense.
Yeah, actually, 2 American continents.
Yeah,
It's in the middle of 2 American continents.
right. And I find it funny because I've heard
Mexico's a country in America.
right, but I've heard people argue for years with the United States, with people in the United States today that we're Americans. I've heard people argue, well, so are Canadians, so are Mexicans. Everyone on these continents is American.
Right?
And it's like, well, okay. I mean, I guess in a way, it's just that you guys never claimed that, Canadians want to be called Canadian, and Mexicans want to be called Mexicans, and Guatemalans want to be called Guatemalans.
I
So,
thought Canadians wanted to be called A.
Canucks, that's the official term. And
Well, they call each other A.
that's true. But so this idea that, I
At
mean,
least ever since Strange Brew.
that what
What do I
mean,
know?
I would understand. Like, I think it's a much basically what this post was arguing was that trying to change Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America is really the same as changing it to Gulf of the United States, and that's not what Trump proposed.
Right.
And
It's what they hear instead of what he actually said.
well, in the grand scheme of things, I don't really care. But the idea that for some reason it's more logical, or there's some kind of precedent set that it can't be contravened.
The whole circular reasoning thing.
Yeah, I'm like, the liberals had no problem when they wanted to rename Mount McKinley. Like, they want to rename stuff all the time, and they have no respect for history. So now that they're crying about it, and then they get the history
Quite the opposite. They have disrespect for history, really.
Right. Oh, I've been seeing all kinds of posts lately about all kinds of things which are just blatantly false, and like historical things. Like, I saw one of the Statue of Liberty was originally going to be a black woman. No, it wasn't. It was never, ever designed to look like that. The whole style is wrong. The history, it's well documented. It's just wrong. I saw another one saying that Hoosiers are named after a black guy. It's like, I'm sorry, that's not really all that accurate either. Like, there's apocryphal reports of a guy whose last name was kind of close, and he was African American, and he hired people from Indiana, and so the Kentuckians would call those people Hoosier boys or something like that. And it's like, okay, but there's plenty of reference to older material mentioning Hoosier, so I don't think that's accurate. Like,
another thing about the Statue of Liberty is that the poem on the bottom of it, "Give us your tired, hungry," all that is not an official anything. That was a woman poet that was a liberal, trying to push liberal values then. So that plate that's on there was never an official thing. So it's not our motto. It's not our country's motto, which is what a lot of people make it out to look like. Well, and as long as we're discussing it, it's not. It's another fucking fallacy. That's not exact. That's not what it was at all. It was a donation. It was a donation, I'm sure, from a French artist, but that plate was added much later by a woman poet that was a liberal. So it's not the motto, which everybody says, well, it says on the Statue of Liberty. Well, yeah, so what? I could write any kind of poem. Art. Like, Mike had a bike. Joe made it go. Art blew the whole damn thing apart. Now, is that our motto? If I put it on the Statue of Liberty?
I know. Was that voted on by Congress? Was that?
Yeah, right. Nope, it was a. I think she did it as a fundraiser or something. If I remember the story, I read the story quite a while ago, but I was surprised because I had been told that so much. Oh, that's what it says on the Statue of Liberty. Like, well, how do you answer to that when the fact is that it is what it says on the Statue of Liberty? Well, how
Just
you
says
answer
so.
to it is that that
So,
is it wasn't never the official motto. So the answer is that it was just a poem that was donated by somebody, and it was put on the Statue of Liberty because they paid enough money to have it done.
yeah, but it's just more fun when someone says that. You just go, so? Your point?
Right, but yeah, and I'm just saying, there's an actual defense for the argument. I'd much rather, like I fight this fight all the time. It's feelings and vitriol. Like nobody has a point to rebut anything. See what I mean?
Well,
So when I rebut something, I want to rebut it with facts, not just feelings, so that I can say, well, it should be this way, or you must be a Nazi or whatever. Well, no, it's just bullshit. You're wrong, and this is the fact.
well, when they want to use some unelected decree by some rando who you never voted for, but they get to decide what the motto of our country is, and you're okay with that because you support that cause, but
Right.
you don't think that's fascism? Hello. Well, just like when you have to get rid of democracy to save democracy. It's okay.
Next episode, we should name constitutional crisis because
Yeah.
everybody's using that now
Yeah, it's a constitutional crisis.
instead of it's a danger to our democracy. It's a constitutional crisis. It literally they're already lockstep over it, so it's just
Oh, I
fucking
know.
stupid.
It's a like what part of the Constitution?
Yeah, it's a constitutional crisis that you want to keep ripping us off.
Yeah. Well, I just keep thinking all those people who complain. Like, I'm sorry, but uh, when you think about all the kinds of money that we've spent all around the world, and
Like
how
it's
does it
past
benefit
tense.
Americans? That's the part that.
You say we have spent like it's past tense.
Well, that's true. But it's like, my God, we spend money on all kinds of things, but we can't provide some real basics for Americans. Like, listen, I do not think you really
Houses,
want.
food.
Well, yeah, I don't think you want the federal government getting involved in college. I don't think that's a good idea at all. I can name from both sides of it. From an educator's perspective, I saw what the Department of Education did. You're going to do that to colleges, even worse. You're going to start demanding that colleges can guarantee a certain percentage of their students pass, and all that. Like you will kill any meritocracy that's in college by making it free.
Absolutely. They've been trying to dumb us down for a long time. That's why you don't have to learn grammar in college. You can use Ebonics. Seriously?
Well,
Ebonics are going to be understood world around? I mean,
there are
they
ads all
probably
over.
they probably will be in places, but
You just have AI write it for you. That's Grammarly
Right.
sells that right now. Oh, you're underwater? Just have Grammarly do it for you. Oh, okay. And quite frankly, if the CIA or whatever government agency really wants to start collecting data, I don't think they need to worry about social media. You just you start spying on the AI and everything that people put on there. You'll know about business contracts. You'll know about all kinds of stuff.
that and like all of the personal information they're bitching about Elon Musk seeing is already out there. Like TikTok and all that's been collecting it for years, and now you're worried about it?
I know he probably already has it on X. So you probably already signed up for it and gave it away.
Well, I don't think Elon Musk is doing this so that he can make anything. He's doing it pro bono. He hired a team at his own expense. He's not charging us anything.
He's
You
being
think,
incredibly transparent about it.
yeah, right. And he's posting everything as it's happening.
I suspect he'll end up dead.
They are already calling for it, and that's illegal.
Right, but I think when they start touching Pentagon, he'll end up dead. He'll have a car wreck. His plane will crash.
I think that he's already thought of that, and he's already taken some precautions against it.
Yeah, well, I think when our government decides that once you're gone, you will be gone.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully,
He'll
that's
be
the whole point.
JFK'd.
That's the whole point of doing what we're doing right now, is to change the government from that. So
But that's what I work. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's what I think ultimately did in JFK, and I think that's the thing I fear about. That's one of the things I always find funny is like a lot of people have said that Trump is more of a JFK Democrat than the Democrats are, and
well, yeah, he's been centrist the whole time. They push center to the right.
oh,
They do.
or
The
or
leftists do.
they just ran so far left that the center seems right to them.
No, they push them to the right. They claim it. The right's not like, oh, the center's with us now. It's all like, oh, well, you must be a Nazi too, and then they're tired of being Nazis as well. So they're like, okay, well, we're joining the "we're not fucking Nazis" team, you stupid asshole.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that cause the big rift.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that they're the elitists, and they claim that we're the elitists. How is it that all these millionaires who are backed by all these billionaires bitch about one millionaire and one billionaire?
Yeah. Oh, I always find it funny. It's like, oh yeah, because it was elitists that said that, you know what, we're coming for your gas stoves. Oh wait, no, that was elitists that said that. It was the Democrats.
Yeah, right.
You know, they don't
The
mind.
real elitists.
Tell you what, the right can be as elitist as they want because the left is so paternalistic and nannyistic that I find it ridiculous. I don't need another parent. My parents did their job. And I don't need some nanny state saying, oh, your gas can is poorly designed.
Right.
I mean, there are so many excesses. And I'm sorry, but when your fire hydrants run out of water, you don't get to be in office. You have failed the most basic part of government. I don't care what kind of fish you were trying to save.
And they're fucking smelts that they're trying to save. You want smelts? We got a whole shitload of them here in Maine. You can have them.
It is absolutely ridiculous.
It is like smelts of everything.
And I'm sorry, but the excesses of the left they're so, all these people, these sheep, I'm sorry, that are just so oh, it's unconstitutional to find the fraud that hurts me, but I'm angry at you for finding it because now I know about it and it's your fault.
Right,
you're trying to screw me over. It's like, okay. Like, you just can't argue with those people. You just say,
Yeah, because if they don't have common sense, you can't give it to them.
No.
And I'm not, here's the thing is I'm not actually, I don't want to sow discontent or point my fingers and, whatever. I would love for, like I tell them, you don't have to be bitter. You can join our side. Like, we're not restrictive. We're not like, oh, you can't join us.
What makes me laugh is
I see all these liberals posting this stuff about you don't have to say you were wrong, but can you at least admit that he's lying to you? And it's just like this coming from the people who gleefully accepted everything that Pfizer told them and Fauci, even when it was pointed out, and that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie. And these are the people who just Biden's cognitively there. Oh, wait, no, he's not. That's a new development. And Kamala Harris, we've always loved her, even though she never won a primary. Like, I'm sorry, at a certain point, you just have to say, you people will accept anything that your plantation owners will feed you, and you're happy to do it. If I saw the kind of, like, I'm sorry, but if Donald Trump had ever acted like Biden, like, I can always say that, you know what, Donald Trump does not seem to be as articulate as Obama was. I can admit that. Not a problem. Sometimes Donald Trump is a bit crass. Okay, 100%. Sometimes Donald Trump does not really act like a politician or statesman. Okay, 100%. I can accept that. I can admit it. I can recognize it. I can recognize that, you know what, as much as we like Donald Trump or whatever, I'm looking more forward towards J.D. Vance, because that's a guy that looks and acts and speaks stately. And I think we might be able to get beyond some of the vitriol of the left, or at least it's going to be a lot harder to say, well, J.D. Vance is, orange man bad, because he doesn't have those flaws. So they're going to have to really, I mean, they'll fall back on he's a Nazi and he wants to kill your grandparents and feed them.
He's weird, remember? That's the thing with him.
He's weird.
Because he's a, straight white married man with kids.
Yeah, but he married an Indian woman and he hates Indians.
Well, yeah, because that's like that. Remember when they told, I don't know if you followed it, but when they were doing Sad Puppies and Brad Torgerson took over because Larry Correa was done with it.
Okay.
And they were calling Brad Torgerson prejudiced and racist and all that. And he's like, dude, I've got a black wife. It's like, he's like, how are you prejudiced with a black wife? Well, that's micro racism. Like, really? Have you tried to argue with a black woman? Have you ever tried to argue with a black woman? Like, yeah, that just doesn't cut water. Like it. It was just so funny. Really. Just not having it with this hand.
Hey, I put something in the private chat that I can't say, not on YouTube. It's a direct reference. So like, well, that's like Bill Burr gets called racist and he's got a black wife. He's even
I actually think Bill Burr goes the other way. He's more liberal than.
Oh, I agree, he is, but I don't care. Again, you're allowed to have different political views.
Yep.
And I'm okay with like I remember, so the gay marriage thing, which I think is pretty well said. And I was always of the opinion that government should only issue civil unions, and that's all it should be for the government.
Agree.
But they want to go a different route, and I'm like, well, okay.
No, they wanted to make it marriage to attack Christianity.
Well, that's kind of what I think. That's assuming malice. Where I know plenty of married gays that they just wanted to get married, and
yeah, but to use the term, that's what Orson Scott Card got canceled for, because he wasn't opposed to gay couples. he was opposed to them using the term marriage because the term marriage is a Christian term,
Right.
and
And
they
so
took it to do that.
I think that's when you have like political groups that are doing that, but individual, like that's groups, and those are some, but again, most individuals, it's like that thing in Men in Black. You know, people are smart, or a person is smart, but people are dumb. Yep. So I don't know. I'm okay. Like it's not the ideal, but I can compromise and say, well, all right.
I don't care if they're couples or whatever. I agree with Orson Scott Card in the fact that if they didn't just demand that it be called a marriage, because that was the whole point. It had to be called a marriage. It couldn't be called a civil union. You couldn't be granted the same rights as marriage. You had to have that term.
Yeah.
So whatever. Like I don't
that's
have
the
much
political agenda of it.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm not saying every gay couple was all like, oh, we're going to destroy Christianity or whatever. But that was what the Obama administration did, was pit sexual orientation against your religious beliefs. They had no need to. There was no need to make that divide.
Society.
Well, there was no need to make that thing. There was no need to make it in your face all the time, except for to make it in your face all the time. But that's the whole purpose of doing that, was to create fault lines so that we are not united, so we don't stand against the corrupt government.
Well, that was one of the things that, like, I voted for Barack Obama the first time he ran, and because I didn't think McCain was going to be in, and I still don't. In fact, I actually think McCain still would have been a worse choice, which is sad. That's how sad our politics had gotten at that point.
I thought McCain would be a better choice until he lost.
Well, okay.
Which is ironic because, I was proven that was not wise. It wasn't a wise choice.
Well,
but I can admit it. You know what I mean? Like, I learned my lesson.
Yeah. So, but it's just one of those things where I understand buying into the hype a little bit. Like I hoped it was going to be something positive, but in the end, he was one of the most divisive presidents, and not because of because people will argue that he was a divisive president because people are racist, and it's like, no, on the contrary, because he was divisive. He was looking for places to divide.
That's right.
So no.
Matter of fact, the racist shit came up because he forced the issue. We were at our least actual race divide because we had voted a black person to be a president. So how is that racist? Like, how are we racist if we voted for you?
Yeah, well,
and how they buy it, but they did. They fucking bought it.
I know. And
he divided us up by sex and religion, race, age, social standing. He divided us up on every possible fault line that he could drive a wedge into, and that's what happened multiple.
Yeah, he was not. 4 years. He did not unify this country in any way, shape, or form. He did the exact opposite. And then, so then you have Trump, and they act like he's so divisive. And it's like, no, I don't think so. I think that he's just not willing to swallow your BS. Like, I've seen, for years, I saw him talk. And he was never like that. Nobody had any problems with him, really. And, it's only when he decides to run as a Republican that, he was like, oh, you're not allowed to do that. And, oh, he's a racist. He's anti-Semitic racist.
He's got awards for helping.
Yeah, I know.
NWAC, yeah.
But again, the same people who said all that stuff are the same people that said if you take this shot, you'll be safe. And, they're the same people that were in charge of making sure there's water in your fire hydrants. Oh. When basic civil services fail, your government has failed. Newsom should be drummed out of politics. All of those California people who failed should be drummed out of politics.
Karen Bass?
Yeah, I'm
Is
sorry.
it Karen Bass?
It's Bass or something like that. But
yeah, I'm trying to remember her last name. I know it's a Karen.
And it's not because they're Democrats. It's because they failed. Your policies failed. I don't care.
Exactly.
Reality
I
did not take a vote. Reality said, nope, doesn't work. But, that's why we have 50 states. So if Californians want to keep voting those people in, fine.
Almost 51. And Trump is harping on that shit. It's funny as hell. I love the fact that Elon Musk changed his Twitter handle to Hairy Balls after the controversy over big balls, and CNN made a big deal of it. So they said on the air, Elon Musk has apparently changed his handle to Hairy Balls. He trolled them, and they fucking ate it, hook, line, and sinker.
Well, it's just like, I think the whole Gulf of America thing is basically a troll. I think there's some historical precedent, but I'm like, really? That's okay. And, but on the one hand, it's an assertion of the Monroe Doctrine in a way.
Well, no. He
What?
All right, I guess we went 3 different ways, but we all put on the brakes. And I was going to say that there was a reason for him changing the name.
What?
It wasn't just a troll.
Okay, why do you think it was to change the name?
Because there's no presidential order that says we can't drill in the Gulf of America.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah,
that's funny.
What on the way out, Biden fucking made a executive order that there would be no drilling in the Gulf of Mexico.
So
Trump's like, fine, it's not the Gulf of Mexico anymore, it's the Gulf of America.
Can't you just as an EO be like, yeah, well, I'm going to rescind that, and you don't need to change the name of it?
Apparently, you can't just rescind some orders.
Oh.
So this just made sure that it doesn't affect us.
Well,
it was clever, and it is a troll, but it's a troll
with a purpose.
Yes, with a purpose.
Well, it's just like that thing about Greenland, and I'm like, because the Dutch control Greenland, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, have you guys never heard of the Monroe Doctrine? Have you guys never heard about the fact that we said our government has said that technically, if it's in the Americas and you're not in the Americas, back the hell off. It's ours. It's not exactly like we own the whole thing, but we have said we don't like imperialism. We don't like anyone from Europe coming over here and having control. We don't want Russia doing it. We don't want China doing it. South America is for South America. North America is for North America, and you back the hell off. So technically, Greenland, according to the Monroe Doctrine, we have at least a partial claim to say, yeah, we're taking it.
Well, that, and as far as I know, the officials in whoever has supposed jurisdiction want us to.
Well, I'm sure they can make money off the mineral rights because I don't think the Dutch are willing to mine.
Yeah, but they can't defend it is what it is.
Well, that's that too. And if Russia decides to come in and take it, they want us there before Russia's there, and Russia's just as close as we are.
And China.
Yeah.
Because, like China, it take away ways for them to get here or get there, but
they have
they have enough submarines and planes and carriers and stuff that are roaming around the waters,
Right.
that it's a legitimate concern that if we lose that, if we don't have an ally having control of that, then possibly we'll have an enemy that will possibly give an enemy a launching off point.
Right.
So it is strategic, and from what I heard, that was the last I heard, that that particular government that had charge of it, I don't know if it was Sweden, Finland,
It's Dutch.
yeah, whatever government that has control of it right now is more than willing to part with it to us. And I think that's why, because we're not invading anybody, we're protecting people.
Well, there's that. Yeah. Oh my God! Can you imagine if oh God, if that actually becomes ours, which is a huge increase in our land.
Yeah, 52nd state.
Well, it won't be a state for a long time. It will take a while, but I mean, just expanding our actual land mass.
Oh yeah,
in a way that's significant. Like it ranks us as one of the top increases, one-time increases. I think people on the left would just go ballistic.
Yep, heads will explode.
And why? Because you want China to run it. I mean, that's the part where I'm like, I get you don't want
money off of it. And that's what I think, is that they've got to be making something off of it.
Well, but for the rank and file, it's just your team can't win, and it's like we're supposed to be on the same team.
Oh, you know what? I like that.
What?
We should have one episode that, like one episode of our 3-episode run a week, that's called the Rankin Files.
Oh. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on tonight. I'm already starting to feel like I need another breathing treatment.
Well, honestly, I don't know how much longer. Wow, we've only been here an hour and a half.
I know.
Not even an hour and a half.
I know.
Yeah, but I'm just learning this fact.
I'm just kidding. I'm a little worried.
I told you, if you're going to be in a place where you need to cut out.
I figured I would hang around until the breathing treatment ran off. My family has me relatively quarantined. They're like, just stay in your room. If you need something, let us know. We'll put it outside the door. It's like, God. My wife was mad because I woke up at like 5:30 and took a breathing treatment. It's in the room, and so she's like, did not appreciate that. And I was like, well, you appreciated a breathing husband. So she's like, yeah, but you also let the dog in. I'm like, well, yeah. Our dog.
Doesn't she like the dog?
Well, our dog has this amazing ability to expand to whatever size she can. She's kind of a liquid because, like, I've seen her curl up on one couch cushion, and I've also seen her take up all 3 couch cushions. And I don't know how she does it. It's like defying physics. And so occasionally when she's in bed, she just starts pushing my wife and I out.
It's like back bending the way ours can't.
Oh, well, she'll try to be the middle of an H, the middle bar, instead of just being another column. And that doesn't work. Yeah. And so last night, the other problem is the boys built loft beds. And so there's a chair in their room, like a chair kind of like this one that's soft, that she would sleep in. But she's been tearing it up, and it's upset the boys. So they didn't want her in her room anymore. And so she's downstairs sleeping, and I came down to get a drink. Because that's the other thing. I cannot keep enough fluids. Like I'm constantly drinking now. I don't know how I don't pee as much. Like I'm just like always thirsty. But anyway, so put the dog out, let her in, and then she followed me up the stairs. And so I was going to put her in the boys' room. And I stood, the way I stood, my back was to my door as I was reaching for their door. And the dog stopped on the stairs and just looked at me. Just, I don't want to go there. And when I reached for my door handle, she came right up. And I was like, well, I can't say no, not to that. So let her in. And apparently, while I was taking my breathing treatment, she was kind of nibbling at the blankets by my wife's feet. She doesn't break this. Like it's a nervous thing, I think. Because when I went to bed, she came up, crawled under my blankets, and she slept right next, like just straight down, right next to me. As in my own little furnace. It was fantastic. I was like, this is why I keep you, dog. But my wife she doesn't like it when the dog starts pushing on her. I ignore her, or I'm like, you're 60 pounds, dog. I can lift you. I can throw you if I want to. If I want you to move, you will move.
Right.
And my wife just doesn't manhandle the dog as much as I do. And don't get me wrong, like I'm pretty nice to my dog. Like I don't try to manhandle her, but if I want to sleep, that's it, dog.
Our dog found a trash bag with dirty, shitty diapers in it and decided that was lunch. I just don't get that about dogs. Like, you're being fed all kinds of good food.
Yep.
You're being fed dog food. I'm giving you half of my fucking breakfast. Like I'm giving you treats. Why the hell you want to eat some nasty shit like that?
Yeah.
And I know it's dog, but it's still disturbing. So yeah, credit where credit's due. Andor is turning out to be a good Star Wars program.
It was. That's one of those things. Like it wasn't very. It wasn't very controversial, so like a lot of people didn't talk about it on YouTube, and that's kind of one of those things. I think it's a kind of a catch-22, that because it was good and satisfying, it didn't cause the drama online, so it doesn't get mentioned as much, and it just
bad attention is still attention, right?
Right,
So,
but when that's all you're getting, because it's always bad, you're like that seems like short-sighted.
that's why I didn't watch it originally. It's not because of I heard something was bad. It's because Disney already ruined my trust. They've burned me through 4 movies.
Right.
And
so
that's 2 more than should have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At that point, after 2 movies burned me, lied to me, or presented false expectations or whatever.
Yeah.
That should have done it, but I gave them 4. So, like, that's the reason that I was like, yeah, no, not interested. Like, and you were saying, oh, it's good and whatever, and I'm like, yeah, but I just don't trust them to not fuck it up and not do something like that. And I haven't been looking for overt like wokeisms or whatever.
Yeah.
But I also like I pick that stuff up whether I'm looking for it or not.
Right.
And I really didn't pick that up in Andor. Like even
Well,
even with the woman that's leading them and all that, I didn't feel like they were, saying that the guys were incapable, because I mean the guys were the ones that are actually doing the main things so far.
yeah.
Um, and I don't know where it's going, so I'm not promising, because it seems like every couple of episodes it has to change the story arc.
Well, that's because I'm telling you, it's every 3 episodes is an actual uh, episode. And so, yeah, if it's 12, that means there are 4 episodes. There are 4 real episodes. That's my opinion. And yeah,
But,
they're all linked, but that's how I look at it.
I like Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah.
I probably like him better than his kids. Because I like him going back to being Kurdic in King Arthur
Yeah.
against Mad Nicholson, where he was Tristan.
Yeah.
So I really followed him, and I thought he really hasn't had the roles that he should have had.
Okay.
Like he went to they put him in Thor. He was that scientist, but he was really
Right.
not. It's really a non-important role.
Right.
But at the same time, he did this show on, I want to say it was Netflix, called River, where he was an investigator that, like a cop investigator, that something went wrong, like his kid died or something like that, and he starts seeing ghosts.
Okay.
But it was filmed like it's a serious show where you don't know for sure if he's seeing ghosts or if he's kind of lost it. He did a damn good job in that. It's just that's like in the 13th Warrior, Herger the Joyous was the best character. He's the short curly haired blonde. His name's Dennis Strohoy. But you didn't see him in any other thing. Like he's obviously in other things, but they're just not, not our mainstream.
So
It's just such a wasted opportunity because he played that character so well.
has he given his speech yet? And you'll know if you've seen it. He's got a speech.
To whom?
It's the speech. I'm telling you. There's
Yeah,
one.
but he's giving a speech in every episode he's in.
Okay, well, I don't want to. Somebody asks him about what he's willing to give up or something like that, or what is he giving up, and he goes into it. And
okay, so where I am right now, which may help you, is they just pulled the job, and the guy that plays Ben Grimm, who played in The Punisher,
yeah,
he just died.
okay.
So there was only 2 from that caper that survived, the main character and the girl. Well, the other girl survived too, but you didn't see what happened after.
Right.
But yeah, the blonde and the main guy, Andor. But the last guy that was on the team that wanted to just divide the money up,
Yeah.
that's the guy that's playing Ben Grimm. That's the episode that I just finished.
Well,
So that should tell you where I am in the story.
yeah, I don't think you've gotten there yet. He is his character.
Go ahead.
his character is the best character. I would love a show like his character. By the end of it, there are all kinds of indications he's way more than what he says he is, and
Right.
I love the theory that says he's actually Sith, and because he's pissed that someone else has been successful. You know, he's not the one in charge; it's somebody else, and it pisses his mom.
Well, ironically, the first time I saw him, the first time I saw him come in for the meeting,
yeah,
and I was like, "Shit, that's Stellan Skarsgård." He's in. I want to say he's in Rogue One. Wasn't he her dad, or was that Matt Nicholson?
That's Matt Nicholson.
Yeah, there was another. He was in that episode, I think, though. He was in one of those as well, and I thought he was a bad guy in those. So I'm not surprised to hear that theory. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw him. Like, oh, they're going to make him a bad guy again. And I was like, hey, cool. They didn't make him a bad guy.
See, that's what I like about it, though. It's not that I need him to be a bad guy, and I'm not trying to make the Sith good. I'm simply saying that we tend to think of good versus evil, and occasionally we talk about antagonists, and occasionally we talk about how sometimes you just have two people who are competing for the same thing, and there's conflict, right? But I don't think we see a lot of that on the other side, where you have someone who would have been willing to do everything the evil guy was willing to do, but they missed their shot. And therefore, they hate the evil guy just as much as the good people. But, you know, he's...
For jealousy?
Yeah. Like for some reason, I find that really fascinating. Like, I would love to write a story where the protagonist is that guy. Is the guy who is just, he has his motivations and he's willing to do whatever. And he's just mad that guy was successful and he wasn't. Not because he wants to save people, not because he wants to do the right thing. It's because he has ambitions and they're at odds with the other guy who had ambitions. And for some reason, I find that fascinating.
Guess what?
What?
You have every opportunity to do that, you know?
Well, I don't think that's for him.
I didn't say him.
Okay.
I said the story.
Okay.
There's plenty of room to explore.
Yeah,
and actually, if you think of something like that and you're like, oh, I'd love to see that. That's what this is about, is doing stuff that, like, I'm making a combination of the Hulk and Wolverine and who the hell else was it at the beginning?
Bane? What? I don't know. Someone said Bane earlier.
Well, I think originally my first drawing, because he was originally supposed to be kind of a bad guy, but not of the main bad guy's crew, remember?
Yeah.
That was when I was kind of putting a little bit of Bane into him, but I think it's a little bit more of the Hulk style now. Okay. Even though he's not really a person. It's just, this is a construct. I think that's what I love the most about it, is it's an organic construct. But yeah, I mean, you've got plenty of room to explore. We got plenty of room to create new bad guys. We got, there's no limitations. If you want to do something like that, that's great. I mean, if you have a deeper story, you want to create a bad guy from this comic book, like whatever takes place in this comic book. Maybe the kid that's kidnapped or whatever becomes a villain or whatever, or somebody in that organization, that's fine. Like one of the people in that organization wants to be the main bad guy and
So,
isn't the main bad guy. That's great.
you know, you've seen Ghostbusters, right? Like you saw the original.
Hmm. In the theater.
What? Yeah. Well, me too. I was in the theater because, yeah. But you know how at the beginning, uh, they're doing an ESP test with shocking a guy, and the guy's getting him right. But
Right?
yeah, I always thought that guy should be a villain in a new movie for the Ghostbusters. He's really telepathic. He can really do this stuff, and he's
Or they
pissed
or they created a telepath by doing that.
or something. But I just thought that guy could be like that would be an
'Cause-
interesting tie into the original. And yeah, it's not ghosts, but they think it's ghosts at first because it's paranormal.
Well, why couldn't he summon ghosts eventually, you know?
Oh, okay.
What kind of but and what I'm thinking when you're saying that, I mean I like the idea, but like they created their worst enemy, their uh their arch enemy. That would be pretty awesome too, right? Because where they went for the second Ghostbusters was pretty dumb, in my opinion. Like the possessed painting didn't
Well,
seem like it was as grandiose as the first one. But if they had created someone that was worse than Gozer or whatever, and it was their own fault.
yeah, that'd be an interesting storyline. I mean, I like the second one. I mean, I'm actually even the girl one wasn't. I mean, it was better than I thought it was going to be. I put it that way. I was like, well, you
Wouldn't
know,
know. Wouldn't know.
No.
Okay.
I would not recommend it. Like, I don't mind saying that there are, you don't need to see that. And I never saw the last Ghostbusters, the Frozen one. I just didn't care.
The one where the kids.
Well, I saw the one the first one with Paul Rudd. I saw, but then the second one where New York freezes and all all this stuff.
Wasn't that the director was Harold Ramis' son or whatever?
Oh, I don't know. I just for some reason that one didn't get. I don't know. I just didn't care.
I thought that was the sell. Actually, is that it was the director was the son of, I think it was Harold Ramis that directed the first one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And it was like his son that was directing it, so that was kind of part of the draw. I was really tempted to go see it, but then everyone's like, "Oh, it's really woke garbage," and
no,
that kind of ruins it for me.
Yeah.
Like if I wanted to go see a movie or anything, if I want to go pay money to go see something as entertainment, I don't want to have shoved in my face the things that don't entertain me.
Or the things I'm trying to get away from.
Well, the things that I'm trying to get away from by going to see entertainment.
Yeah. Well, I find it funny that, you will have creators who are blatantly saying, I hope to piss off the fans. I hope to piss off the fans.
Yeah. Don't understand
I hope that we piss off the fans. I hope the fans are angry. And it's just like, well, okay, mission accomplished. You got your wish. And then they didn't. And I don't know if you realize this, but when you piss off the fans, they stop spending their money.
And I think that when they say, "Oh, I knew that I was going to piss you off" or whatever, I think that that's just saying that
they're assholes.
No, that's just trying to say that they did it on purpose and it wasn't an accident because their shit sucked. It was that they did it intentionally. But it doesn't make any more sense. It doesn't make it any better.
No. And, when some of this, I don't understand why it's so wrong to say, I'm tired of seeing certain tropes. And when white guys are just either incompetent or evil, that's the only two roles you get.
I don't like that. I don't find that. I don't think it's good. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think white people should be the white savior is a thing, and I get how that's annoying as hell if that's
And
all you have. But there's I don't mind saying that white people have done good in the world. So you shouldn't say that they're always evil and that they're always racist and that they're all if you're just trying
I
to
thought you were
slam
gonna say they shouldn't be the heroes all the time, but like they shouldn't be the villains all the time. But if you think about it, like in all the movies before this huge movement to uh, equal representation, which doesn't really exist in the world,
right.
but before that movement, all the bad guys were pretty much white people too.
Oh no.
I mean, they had some odd, not white people heroes, but
Well, I don't. You will hear people make the
or
argument
villains.
that,
Villains is what I meant, but yeah.
that like Native Americans don't like where there was a time where if you needed a villain, it was you just made it. It's Western, so it's the Native Americans, the Indians, and they got tired of always being the villain, of always being the thing that had to be defeated. And if that's all you're being fed, I can understand why that would upset you. I get that. But why do you think that that's okay then to do to me?
Right, because it's not about fairness or
Yeah.
equal representation. It's about getting back at us for something
Yeah.
that we never did.
Right.
That's why I don't watch that shit, because if I find out that it's like that, I'm not interested at all. I don't want to watch it. Why the fuck would I want to watch that? A white guy being the bad guy, that's all right. A white guy being only the bad guy is not all right.
Or incompetent.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of a bad guy in itself, right?
Right. But I mean,
Because he's not incompetent, he's fucking up the works.
and I understand how women don't like to always every depiction of women has to be where they're being saved by the guy. But anymore, it's like no, the guy can't do anything without a woman. Like a man cannot figure out how to do anything on his own. He absolutely will not be successful by himself. It's impossible.
Okay,
Women
so
can do it.
Gina Carano is a badass.
Yeah.
She's not going to take on fucking Lennox Lewis.
No.
Because she's not dumb, too.
Right.
And that's the way they represent it, is that like women can do anything men can. Well, they can't. And the same thing the other way around. We've said this over and over, but they minimize women's strengths.
Uh-huh.
Like throughout history, women didn't just show up and be Mulan. I mean, there was occasional Joan of Arc,
Right.
characters like that, but they stood out because they were occasional. But the ones that made it possible for that to work were the ones that were working behind the scenes. So they're basically controlling their husbands by cleverness and craftiness and planning and all the things that are not included anymore.
Well, I was
But
thinking
yes,
about a Chris Rock joke where he talks about if you're anywhere in America at 12:15 and you're in any town in America, any place in America, if it's 12:15 on a Wednesday and you see who's not working, that tells you what type of place you're in. And if it's women who aren't working, they're coming out of, they're wearing sweatpants and pushing baby carriages and all that kind of stuff, riding bikes and jogging. And that place is paradise. But if it's men that aren't working, you're in danger because that place is a hellhole. And it got me thinking about that, about how, because when women are way better at building homes, or not like constructing them necessarily, but turning them into a place that's nice.
Yeah,
Guys
making
will
them
let
home.
it be just a 4 walls and a hole in the floor to piss in. Women are like, no, it's the civilizing force, and it's pretty well documented. There's a civilizing force, and the more that happens, things are good. And those are strengths. Recognizing them and recognizing how valuable they are, that's a good thing. But nah, we got to turn our strong female characters into men with boobs.
Right.
It's dumb.
Now, I'm not saying also to make women, none of the women can fight or whatever, but
No, but I really like the idea of a woman who goes through and maybe she's a badass, but then they see somebody like, yeah, I ain't fucking with him. I'm not stupid.
right, or taking an alternate route because they see, well, that's not going to happen.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. They kind of play down their strengths to try to make them equal to our strengths. Like,
Yeah.
they shouldn't have our strengths. Their strengths are great. They wouldn't work for us. That's why they work for them. That's part of the charm to it. What do I know? But
well, that's just like the other day I was talking to my son. He was kind of upset with his mom because he felt like she was babying him, and she was. Well, I was upset about it too a little bit, but I was like, "Listen, kid, the reason why it's great to have a parent, like two parents, one, and to have a father and a mother, is that women tend to have a more nurturing perspective, and they protect more, whereas men push more. We challenge, and that's when you're a toddler, that's a bad thing to be put into dangerous situations and pushed to. But as you get older, there's conflict between those two impulses, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I was like, you're receiving the benefit of two parents. You have the nurturing, caring, protective mom, and then and it's not like she doesn't challenge them or push them, but I'm just saying that's more her style than mine, and mine's just like, suck it up, buttercup, rub some dirt in it, let's get back out there. And it's good to have both of those, a diverse perspective that works together. Weird.
My kids didn't like something that my mom did. Well, my son didn't like something that his mom did when he was younger, and he called her something.
Oh.
And I was like, "Yep, you got a choice. You can." Like that's my old lady. I know it's your mom, but that's my old lady that you're talking shit to. Like, so you can either fucking apologize or you can get the boxing gloves and we're going out back.
Yeah.
And so that's not nurturing, I guess, but
no, but it's showing the proper role. I mean, you're showing.
Well, and hopefully he'll get something out of that, like when it comes to be his old lady,
That's right. Like that's how it should be.
I mean, like, I love you, my son, but you wouldn't be my son without my wife.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah,
not very nurturing, but
my children could be upset with their mom, but they're not allowed to disrespect her.
Right.
Not live here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's exactly right. That I will fight for their right to be able to express their opinion, but don't disrespect the person that gave you birth, that's feeding you. That goes out of her way to make sure you have clean clothes, that you get what you want, not just for Christmas. How about you give her some respect, or I give you an ass whooping?
Yeah.
I mean, either way is fine with me.
Yeah.
It's not so much these days, but that the point got across to him. But it's to your point saying that guys are generally not the nurturing ones. We're not the ones that are usually feeling. Which is really weird because my wife is less feeling than I am with the kids. If that tells you something.
Well, again, I think it's we can look at general trends, but then when you look at the individual, it's always an individual thing.
Yes.
So, there are certain, like my wife she hates for people to touch her, always has. And, whatever, like she's not a hugger. She's, just, and
my wife's kind of standoffish like that as well.
So, yeah, so it's like, well, all right, that's cool. But I made it a point just because I wasn't happy necessarily with it's gotten better, but it was really hard to tell my parents that I loved them at a certain point. And it was really hard, I think, for them to say it. So I make it a point to say it to my boys all the time. And, when they were little, I was definitely putting them on my lap and all kinds, just whatever I could, If they wanted to hold hands to the store, you betcha I was holding their hand through the store. I was like, this is going to last forever. And
I agree. I've always been stand up for my kids first. And we've said that before, but and that's the reason, because when I was growing up, I had, my dad died when I was young. And I had stepdads, but they were never really any kind of dads. I mean, they tried sometimes, there were two of them, and one of them tried hard, but he was he was so smart that he disconnected from reality sometimes, because he was talking to himself and such. The other one, not so good, but because I didn't have a dad that stuck up for me, and my mom was too afraid to stick up for me,
Yeah.
I have never let my kids go without me sticking up for them. So, right or wrong, if I'm gonna die because I fucked up, I'm gonna die because I fucked up protecting my kids or backing my kids.
Yeah.
I can be wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But my kids get my back up first. I believe in them before anybody else. You're gonna have to prove me wrong. You're gonna have to prove them wrong, because I know my kids. And no, that doesn't mean that they're angels, but that does mean that I know that if they were going to do something wrong, they wouldn't lie to me, because they know that I'm backing them 100%. The more I get into being comfortable with this guy's detail, the more I feel like I'm putting him like a hero and a half. This is meant to kind of be segmented armor, but I want it to look like hammered and dinged up and stuff like that. Yep. It's like my daughter got into an argument one time with someone.
Yeah.
Online over music. She was younger and she was into One Direction. And I'm a headbanger, so
yeah.
The way I feel about that, because I'm a headbanger, is I will fight for your right to like whatever music you fucking want to like, whether I like it or not, because that's the point, right?
Yeah.
And that's half of the point that most headbangers are trying to make too, is that we don't have to choose the popular way. So everybody has the right to choose their own way. And I taught my daughter that the hard way because somebody was messing with her over One Direction, because they're claiming that one of the guys in One Direction was making fun of the singer of Suicide Silence that died. And I'm like, I very seriously doubt that anybody in One Direction even knows who fucking Suicide Silence is. Because One Direction is all fucking pop boy band shit. And
you don't know what they know.
I said I doubt. I didn't say I knew.
I know.
But chances are that's not the circles they run in. Then they're not going to be paying attention to that. They're certainly not going to be like, oh, that death metal singer committed suicide. Ha ha.
Well, I'm just saying, Neil
I
Peart
just
wrote about
don't buy
98
it.
degrees.
What?
Neil Peart wrote about 98 degrees.
Okay, but Neil Peart, they were progressive rock. They weren't like death metal, you know.
Well, I'm just saying.
And a lot of death metal guys, believe it or not, know a lot of the more popular bands.
Yeah, because it's music and you listen to it and you study it. You see what they do. And that's one of the things I've been. Some of those lyric videos for like the vocabulary and the writing like strategies and stuff that I've been doing. You know, it's a lot of stuff that I try to do a lot of different styles because I got a lot of different students. They like a lot of different types of music.
Right.
You know, so there's stuff on there that I would normally not necessarily listen to, but it's been my challenge for myself to try to come up with something in a style that I can listen to, even if I don't necessarily gravitate towards that style. So, like, I'm not a real big fan of country, never have been. Although modern country seems to be a lot like 80s soft rock, but whatever.
Yeah, right.
There have been some country songs that I have enjoyed, but they're few and far between. I mean, there are other styles
That's
of music.
where I am too.
I've never heard a polka that I've ever particularly thought, oh, wow, I want to hear that again.
Not Weird Al?
What?
Not even from Weird Al?
No. I mean, it's okay. I like the humor of Weird Al, but I don't care. I'm like, yeah, it's a polka. I don't care. But, you know, I mean, it's just one of those things. You just try to come up with stuff that I find interesting, that it's thinking about not what I want to hear, but what will make this information palatable to someone other than me. Because I already I like this writing stuff, and I like these English terms and all this stuff. You know, I'm already interested in the content. I'm trying to make this content more appealing to people who don't care, and also provide a faster, easier way of consuming some of it, because it's the Schoolhouse Rocks mentality. And you know, I mean, there's a reason why people can sing "lolly lolly lolly, get your adverbs here," and you know, conjunction junction and all that stuff. I mean, there's.
Oh, I know conjunction junction. I don't know the lolly lolly.
Oh yeah, lolly lolly lolly, get your adverbs here. Yeah, all about a store with adverbs. It's great.
I don't know that one though.
But that's kind of. I mean, I just took that concept. That's all I've been trying to do. And but it's, I don't know. It's a fun exploration of trying to analyze audience and audience taste and hit it. And it's funny because here I'm a guy. You know, I'm 47 years old. I'm a bald, overweight, white guy, asthmatic. teaching middle school English, and they're not going to take music recommendations from me. Occasionally a student will, but let's face it, I'm not hip in any way.
Only to get extra credit.
Yeah, and it's funny because they'll, for some reason, one will be playing or something. Like I'll play the playlist before school starts or something, or I play it when we go to the library. There's a screen projector. I'll play it while they're in the library. And occasionally, you get kid will like it. I mean, and really like it. There was one, and this girl was like, "Oh my God, this is actually good." And I was like, "Well, thanks." I minimally had something to do with that. But she got the whole classroom listening to that thing. And it was really kind of, I was like, I'm not a musician. I didn't make the music. I typed up lyrics and I asked the machine to provide me. And I gave it some direction. But, still, it was kind of surprising. It's kind of nice to see them surprised. It's like hiding in, like spinach and dessert type thing where you grind it all up so people don't know they're eating something healthy. That's kind of what I'm doing with their music. And I saw other videos. They're all very childish. They're all for like elementary. And so I've actually aimed my sights more on a high school audience, which I think appeals more to middle school students. Like there's a little bit of occasionally, like I have like anthropomorphic animals dancing around or something. There's a little nod to the middle school aspect, but
I think middle schoolers want to be high schoolers anyway. So
right. So if I aim at the middle school level, I think I hit more of the middle school. There's just slight occasional. I'm like some of the images that I use. If I was teaching high school, I would probably use more of them. But since I'm in a middle school, I restrict it more. There's a little bit of stuff like that. I don't mind talking about puppy love in some of the songs, but I'm not going to go into anything deep. And because again, it's middle school students in particular. That's all they care about is, who are you dating? Okay. And they were like, so the one class, this one girl was like, "Why'd you get your girlfriend?" And I was like, "You mean what did his parents get his girlfriend?" Because let's face it, the kid's 12. He doesn't have a job. Like everything he has, it's given to him. And I've done that for my boys. I'm not gonna, just saying I recognize it for what it is. All
I mean, my kids
right.
earn it.
Well, my kids would have to mow the yard and do that kind of stuff. My boys have been like, "Is there anything I can do so I can earn some money?" Like they've done that before. It's like, well, okay.
That's respectable though. That is earning their own money.
I agree. But it's coming. So there are times when it's like, well, I could go out and clean my car, but whatever. I'll pay you to do it. Not that I need them to. Or I could go mow the yard. I could put headphones in and mow the yard. I have no problem with that. But I don't do it because they need a reason to get paid. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I do. But I'm just saying, like, it's valid that they worked for it. That they bought something. Even though it's just as valid that you let them have it, you let them have the job and.
Yeah, it's all that money's coming out of the same pool. That's just all there is to it.
But they earn it. So, I mean, they earn it as they earn it. That's my opinion anyway. Like,
well, they do.
If my kids work for the money, whether it's babysitting, whether it's mowing the lawn, taking taking the trash out, doing their chores or whatever, which, it's a long time since I've had to worry about that. But like any of that, I would have just considered it them earning their own money, right? It
Oh,
just, yes, I'm their employer there, and I'm probably more strict of a bastard than the regular employee would be anyway. But like, I wouldn't take the credit away from them earning it. Not that I'm saying that's what you're doing, but
Oh, somewhat I'm doing that. It's okay. Uh, but for me, a lot of that comes down to, if your parents don't have the money, you don't have a way to earn it outside like for most of them, outside their parents. And
people don't hire other people to do their lawns anymore.
what?
Like they couldn't get a paper route or
Well,
go
paper route
around
probably not.
go around mowing other people's lawns,
Well, not in
shoveling
February.
driveways. What's that?
Not in February.
Shoveling.
Not in February. They're not mowing yards right now.
I said shoveling.
Oh, well, there's not enough snow to shovel.
I'm just saying, there's always some yard work of some kind that people want.
Generally,
Almost,
probably.
almost always. I'm not,
Most of these kids aren't doing that.
no, because most kids these days are entitled and they don't think they have to.
Right.
But
So
there
it
are some
comes
that,
from the parent.
but there are some that
Have
will,
to and can. Yeah.
There's some that just do. Like when I was younger, I did stuff to earn the money because I wanted to say I earned the money.
Well, some of the stuff I've kept my boys from doing some stuff just because I would tell them, I was like, you're in school, that's your job, and I want you to be able to do school stuff because once school stuff is over, work will be there, but school won't. Not like this. And I was like, we don't have a lot of money, but I'm okay being poorer uh, to not have you have to have a job.
Yeah, both of our older kids found jobs as soon as they were old enough to find jobs, and I don't think it was that they didn't want to do school or whatever, because school was kind of fucked up for them anyway. But
No, I just
I don't think that was the case. It was just that they wanted their own money and they couldn't wait to go get a job. So I
well,
mean, they got learner jobs. They got jobs where they were bagging groceries or whatever.
now
But
what I'm saying is like I had a job as soon as I got a car. My father said he would provide me $10 of gas a week, which was plenty, which makes me laugh. But he would give me $10 of gas a week as long as I maintained an A average, and he would pay for the insurance. And I was like, all right. So I didn't need a job, but I wanted money because I wanted to go out on dates, and so I went and I got a job, and I had one. And I worked about 34 to 36 hours a week, and so I missed out on a lot of school plays I couldn't do. I missed out on, just hanging, like going to football games. I missed a lot of those. I missed a lot of various social things just because I was going to work. And I was like, no, like work will be around. Like go to if you want to be part of the school play, go be part of the school play. If you want to be you want to go be on a sport, go, let's do the sport. Having a job and having a sport, I don't know how people would do it. To be honest with you, I mean, I know people do, but my goodness, some of it's just practice all the time, games all the time, traveling all the time. I don't know how you do it. So there's just things. That was the kind of stuff I wanted my boys to have, and my parents could have done that, and they chose not to. And I don't mind. It developed personal responsibility, and it wasn't like I had a bad time. Let's face it, I blew most of my money anyway, doing dumb stuff or just going and seeing movies with my eventual wife. But it's and so I don't fault them. It's not. I'm not trying to say my parents did it wrong. I just wanted it different for my boys, and they've both had jobs in the summer before. Like they've both done lifeguarding. My son's employed now. While he's technically hasn't graduated yet, he has all of his credits. He doesn't have to go to school, but he's technically not graduated until the spring. So he's 18. I'm like, yeah, go get a job. So he's got a job. And it's a crappy job. The type of crappy job that you're supposed to get when you're first starting out. And he's upset with it. He's upset with the things that are going on. And I'm like, yeah, that's normal. Like, I know
That's why it's called a learner job.
Yeah, I was like, you're just learning. This is the crap that happens all the time, and this is the kind of crap that happens at this type of job.
Do this for 2/3 of your life now.
And I was like, that's why you want to go to school, because you don't want to be stuck in a job like this. But every job's got stuff like this, so start getting used to it. It's like the only way to really avoid this kind of stuff, the kind of crap that he's bitching about, is really to be the boss. You got to figure out a way to be the boss. You got to figure out, how you're going to do that. And he wants to become an accountant. I'm like, so this should tell you something. If you want to work for somebody else, you're going to deal with crap like this. If you want to be your own, you're going to take a lot more risk. But the BS is your BS, not somebody else's BS necessarily. Okay, I tried to last till 11. But I got to take my drugs. Medication for those of you who get easily offended.
Well, like I'm almost done with this panel. And then the rest is just kind of doing background stuff on the big panel, which I kind of figure I'm going to have the tail of that thing kind of flopping around.
Okay.
That way we've got room to have dialogue boxes coming out of the panel.
Okay. That works.
Yeah, get some rest. God bless.
I will talk to you later. For anyone who watches this later, and for our sole viewer tonight that I see, thank you for watching. Always a pleasure. I'd hang around more. I like oxygen. It's a fun thing. So I will talk to you later. Peace. Have fun.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call it. So, thanks for everyone that showed up and watched. Nobody spoke, but thank you for thinking about it. Thank you for liking, subscribing, following. Good night. God bless. Much love. You have no watch or your headphones?